They knew it was coming, yet nothing could prepare them for the moment. Season 6 of The Chosen is about to lead us into the most powerful and heartbreaking event in all of history, the crucifixion of Jesus. This isn't just another scene in a TV show. This is the moment everything has been building toward. The moment love and suffering collide. The moment sacrifice changes the world forever. And in this season, the creators are preparing to bring it to life with raw emotion. Ground to understand why this crucifixion scene in Season 6 matters so much, we have to look back at where the story has left us. At the end of Season 5, the tension was already unbearable. The disciples had started to realize that following Jesus would not be easy. They had witnessed miracles. They had seen crowds cheering, but they had also felt the growing hostility from religious leaders and Roman authorities. The shadow of betrayal was already falling. Season 6 is where that shadow becomes reality. The betrayal of Jesus by Judas is not just an act of treachery, it's a breaking point for the disciples. They have to face the fear of losing the one they left everything to follow. For the Romans, it is business as usual. A man challenging their authority must be crushed. But for the audience, and for those who believe, it's the beginning of the darkest night before the brightest dawn. This build-up is what gives the crucifixion scene its emotional weight. The Chosen doesn't rush through the story. It allows us to feel the pain of the disciples, the confusion of the crowd, and the heartbreak of Mary, his mother. Every episode in this season will carry the weight of what is coming. And when we finally reach the cross, it won't feel like a distant event in history. It will feel like we are standing there, watching it happen in front of our eyes. What makes The Chosen so unique is how it connects ancient events with modern hearts. Instead of making the crucifixion a scene of spectacle, it is likely to be a scene of intimacy. Faces covered in dust, voices breaking with grief, hands trembling with fear. This is the kind of realism that sets The Chosen apart. And it's why the crucifixion in Season 6 will leave such a deep mark on every viewer: dead realism, and a depth we've never seen before. What makes The Chosen different from every other biblical drama is the way it tells the story. Instead of presenting the crucifixion as just another historical event, the creators lean into emotion, silence, and detail. They don't want us to simply watch the crucifixion. They want us to feel it. And that's where the creative direction becomes so powerful. Most films show the crucifixion in grand, dramatic scale. Bright flashes, loud music, large crowds. But The Chosen has always taken a different road. It focuses on the small things. The trembling of a hand as the nails are raised. The weight of the wooden cross dragging across the dirt. The sound of sandals on the stone path. It's in these details that the suffering becomes real. Instead of overwhelming us with spectacle, the series slows us down and lets us sit inside the pain of the moment. The cinematography will likely be just as intimate. Shadows stretching long across the ground as Jesus stumbles. The camera pulling close to his face to capture both agony and peace. The blurred figures of disciples hiding in fear while Mary never looks away. Even the way the camera moves will matter, following behind him almost as if the audience is being asked to walk the same road. And then there is sound. Silence can be more powerful than 1,000 instruments. The Chosen knows when to strip away background music and let us hear nothing but the wind, the chains, and the cries of those watching. Imagine the silence just before the hammer strikes. Imagine the echo of wood meeting metal as the nails are driven in. These moments don't just tell the story. They put us inside it. Every creative decision, from lighting to silence to close-up shots, is designed to bring us closer to the crucifixion than ever before. This isn't a scene to be admired from a distance. It's a scene to be endured alongside him. And that's what makes Season 6 stand out. It's not about retelling an old story. It's about making us feel, for a moment, what it might have been like to stand there, powerless, as the world's greatest act of love unfolds. The journey begins not on the cross, but on the road. Dust rises with every step as Jesus stumbles forward, the rough wood of the cross pressing into his torn shoulders. The camera doesn't need to show a crowd of thousands. Instead, it may focus on the few, Mary, whose eyes never leave him. John, torn between fear and courage. Simon Peter, crushed by his denial, watching from a distance. Each face tells a story, and each story adds weight to the moment. The climb to Golgotha will not be about spectacle. It will be about exhaustion, silence, and the sound of grief. The Romans, cold and unshaken, bark orders. Their presence is strong but emotionless, a sharp contrast to the breaking hearts around them. Every fall of Jesus to the ground is not filmed as action, but as surrender. When he collapses, the world seems to pause. The audience can almost feel the pain through the sound of labored breaths, the scrape of stone against skin, the cries of women on the roadside. Then the crucifixion itself. The hammer is raised, but instead of showing it directly, the chosen might focus on Mary's face, trembling as the sound of the strike rings out. Or perhaps the camera will catch John's hand clutching the earth, unable to look. In this way, the pain is not only seen, it is shared. The act of crucifixion becomes more than violence. It becomes heartbreak echoed through those who love him. As the cross is raised, silence may fill the screen. No grand music, no sweeping shots, just the sound of wind, the cries of the guilty and the innocent, and the stillness of a world holding its breath. The disciples, scattered and broken, watch from the shadows, and in that moment, the audience is placed beside them, powerless, speechless, overwhelmed. What makes this breakdown unique is not the act itself, but how it is told. By shifting the focus from brutality to intimacy, from history to emotion, The Chosen allows the crucifixion to become personal. The cross does not stand far away. It stands right before us, and through the eyes of his followers, we see not only death, but the love that carried him there. The crucifixion is more than pain on a cross. It is a message written in blood, shadow, and silence. In The Chosen, the impact of this moment will not come from violence alone, but from what it represents. Every detail becomes a symbol. The darkening sky is not just weather, but the world itself mourning. The tearing of the temple curtain is not just fabric ripping, but the barrier between God and man falling apart forever. The crown of thorns is not just a mockery, it is a crown of a king who rules through sacrifice. The nails are not only instruments of death, they are the bridge between heaven and earth, holding him in place so love can complete its work. Even the cross itself becomes more than wood. It is the meeting place of mercy and judgment, where sin is crushed and grace begins. The way The Chosen is likely to capture these symbols will make the scene unforgettable. Imagine the screen washed in shadows as the sun fades, leaving only the silhouette of the cross. No words are needed. The silence speaks louder than dialogue. Then perhaps a single moment of light breaks through the clouds, reminding us that even in the deepest loss, hope is still alive, and the impact goes beyond the screen. For the disciples, this moment will shatter their world. Their leader, their teacher, their Messiah hanging before them. The silence after his final breath will be unbearable. For Mary, it is the sorrow no mother should ever feel, yet the courage no other could carry. For viewers, it is an invitation to see that this isn't just their story, it is ours. The crucifixion scene in Season 6 will not simply replay an event from history. It will hold up a mirror. It asks us to see ourselves in the disciples' fear, in Mary's grief, in the Roman soldiers' indifference, and most of all, it asks us to see the weight of a love so strong it chose death. That is the true impact. Not the suffering itself, but the meaning behind it. A love that transforms, a sacrifice that saves, and a cross that still stands as the center of history. The crucifixion is the turning point that every viewer of The Chosen has been waiting for and dreading. From the first season, the series has carefully built relationships with these characters. We've laughed with Matthew's awkwardness. We've felt Peter's fiery passion. We've admired Mary Magdalene's redemption. And now, all of these connections collide with the one event that will break them: the loss of Jesus. Fans are not just watching history, they are watching the heart of this story tear apart. Expectations are high because audiences know what is coming, yet they don't know how The Chosen will show it. That is the power of this series. It takes familiar stories and reveals them in ways we never saw before. The crucifixion scene won't simply be about nails and wood. It will be about friendship, betrayal, and love pushed to the very edge. Viewers are waiting to see Judas's guilt, Peter's regret, John's courage, and Mary's unshaken devotion. Because through their eyes, we feel our own humanity. The emotional aftermath will be heavy. Once the cross is raised and the final words are spoken, the screen will likely fall into silence. No quick escape, no sudden shift. Just the weight of loss. The disciples, broken and scattered, will not yet understand the victory hidden inside this defeat. That hopeless pause between death and resurrection is where the audience will sit, reflecting on what it means to lose the one who gave them everything. For many fans, this may be the most difficult part of the series to watch, not because of violence, but because of love. We have walked with Jesus for 6 seasons, and now we must stand by as he gives his life. That sense of helplessness, of grief, is exactly what makes the resurrection that follows so powerful. The aftermath of the crucifixion is not just sadness, it is expectation. It is the silence before the stone rolls away, the darkness before the light returns. For viewers, Season 6 will leave them aching, mourning, and yet holding on to a single, unshakable hope. The story is not finished. The crucifixion is not the end. It is the doorway. Season 6 of The Chosen will not close with a story of defeat, but with a story that demands patience. The cross, as brutal as it is, stands as a promise that what feels like the darkest moment will soon break open into the brightest morning. And that is where the series leaves us. In the silence, in the grief, and in the waiting. What makes this closing so powerful is the tension it creates. We know resurrection is coming, but we are not allowed to rush there. The creators want us to sit with the pain first. They want us to feel the weight of the cross before we feel the joy of the empty tomb. And that decision makes the journey even more meaningful. Because only when we face the depth of loss can we truly understand the power of victory. For the audience, the crucifixion scene will leave questions echoing in their hearts. What would it have felt like to stand there? Would I have hidden in fear like Peter, or stayed near the cross like John? Would I have mocked him with the crowd, or defended him even at the risk of my life? These questions are not meant to condemn, but to invite reflection. The crucifixion is not just a story from history. It is a story that still speaks to every soul today. And as Season 6 closes, viewers will be left not with finality, but with longing. A longing for the next season, a longing for the resurrection, a longing to see the stone roll away and the world forever changed. That is the genius of this storytelling. It doesn't just show us what happened. It makes us feel like we are part of it. So as we prepare for the release of this powerful season, one truth becomes clear. This is more than a TV show. This is a journey of faith, sorrow, and hope. The crucifixion scene will break us, but it will also prepare us for the moment when hope walks out of the grave. If this breakdown has stirred something in you, then stay connected. Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for deeper insights and prepare yourself for the most moving chapter The Chosen has ever told. Because the story of love does not end on the cross. It begins there. The cross is not the end of the story. It is the center of it. Season 6 of The Chosen dares to take us into the very heart of history's most painful moment. Not with spectacle, not with distance, but with intimacy. Every step to Golgotha, every nail driven, every tear shed will remind us that this is not just a story about death. It is a story about love. A love so deep that it chose suffering. A love so strong that it endured the cross. And when the final breath is drawn, the silence will be deafening. That silence is where Season 6 will leave us. In grief, in reflection, and in longing. But that silence is not empty. It is charged with promise. Because the crucifixion is not the final word. It is the pause before the greatest miracle in history. As viewers, we are not simply watching a scene. We are standing beside the disciples, feeling their confusion, their sorrow, their despair. We are invited into the story, asked to carry the weight. and reminded that even in the darkest moment, hope is waiting just beyond the tomb. So as The Chosen prepares to unveil this powerful chapter, remember, the crucifixion scene is not just about what happened then, it is about what it means now. It is about love that still speaks, sacrifice that still saves, and a hope that still lives. The story doesn't end on the cross. It begins there,